All right.
Fix your hair.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Hi, and welcome to Get the News Straight. I'm your host, Glenn Sutphin. With me today is a man called Chris Dorsey. How you doing today, Chris?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks, Glenn. Hope all is well with you. Just want to get into the news. There's a lot of stuff going on, and the shadow government is carrying out war against the people in overdrive this week. So we got a lot to cover.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I'm watching the camera flicker on and off here.
You're coming in all right?
All right, because it keeps turning off and coming on. All right, well, we'll just go with it and see what we get. All right, so you said about the Pentagon money. Would that be like what happened before 9/11 when they had all that money missing?
Yeah, I'd like to get into this $6.5 trillion that was announced missing from the Pentagon. And
that was just recent.
This was just recent. This was just the recent one. We're not definitely talking about the $3.3 trillion that was announced missing on September 10th, 2001. We're talking about an additional $6.5 trillion announced missing in the end of August of 2016, which is where we are now. A little less than 2 weeks before the 15th anniversary of the false flag attacks of 9/11, which, as we all know, was carried out by, mostly directed, I should say, by dual Israeli citizens inside the United States Pentagon, like Dov Zakheim, who was the comptroller of the Pentagon when the $3 trillion in 2001 was announced missing by Donald Rumsfeld. And of course, Rumsfeld, a neocon, part of the Project for a New American Century. And we want to just point this out because we really need to watch out for some sort of major false flag attack coming out of the Pentagon infrastructure, coming out of the Zionist Jew global military industrial complex. And there's several things about this $6.5 trillion I want to point out. And the main thing is $6.5 trillion is a huge, substantial amount of money. And it is 3 times the amount that was, double the amount that was missing on September 10th, 2001, when they followed up their missing money with the largest false flag attack and the largest attack against the American homeland ever.
In history.
Ever.
Yeah.
So a couple things I want to point out, because we want to point out every step of the way that when our government is acting, they're acting in a criminal manner, they're acting in a treasonous manner, and of course they're violating so many different sections of the rules by which we, the people who are the rulers of government, the creators and rulers of government, the people create the government, the people ordain the government for the purpose of serving the people, and the government has rules, and it's called the Constitution for the United States of America. And by stealing the $3 trillion in 2001, and all along the way stealing money, and again the announcement of $6.5 trillion missing, they're major violations of the Constitution for the United States of America, which is the rules the people set forward for our servants, which is the government. And I want to start here with Article 1, Section 8. And this is, of course, Article 1, the enumerated powers of Congress. And it says here, and this is very important in Article 1, Section 8, it says, Congress has the power to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules considering capture on land and water, also to raise and support armies. But here's the most important part. but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years. So the Pentagon infrastructure by itself, just according to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, it's unconstitutional. The entire Department of Defense, the entire Pentagon, it's unconstitutional. And that's because, obviously, the United States military, because it's a proxy of the Zionist shadow government, has declared war on all the people of the world, but especially on the people of the United States. They're carrying out war against the people of the United States, and they're doing it with a blank check. And I also want to point out that here in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, this $6.5 trillion and the $3 trillion missing, and it happens every year. There's announcements like this, but this is the latest. And it says in Article 1, Section 9, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. That's not at all how things work. That's what the law says. Those two sections of the Constitution. Now, I realize the Constitution is not perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be the rules for our servants. But those are two important rules. Two important rules. And if the Constitution were enforced, obviously, all the leaders of the government would be arrested immediately, convicted of treason, and executed. So that's what we wish to push for. That's what we require, and that's the only thing that's going to save the planet and allow humanity to go forward without being enslaved and without, a mass genocidal event, which they're planning for, and they're carrying out as we speak.
Yeah, they're not just planning it, they're carrying it out. Sure. So, yeah, they've been carrying it out for a couple decades now. I mean, with the spraying and all the other shit that they've done, the stealing of the money, everything they do is like, you may as well just say we got a mafia running the whole show, and it's a crime show.
The worst mafia. The worst mafia. Now, there's a lot of things to touch on. A lot of folks are discovering this week that the so-called Russian mob, which operates out of Brighton Beach in New York, is not really the Russian mob. It's the Jewish mob. But again, this is just part of the same Jewish mafia, and they use mafia tactics, and they're the most powerful and the most deadly and the most bloodthirsty and the most satanic. That's why they're in charge. The individuals in charge of government around the world and in charge of this military-industrial complex, which makes the Cosa Nostra look like the peanut gallery from Howdy
That's
Doody.
Her kingdom. Think about it.
Yeah. Okay. So these folks who have the nuclear weapons, who are carrying out the false flags, who are spraying, who are creating earthquakes like the one in Italy through use of CERN
and HARP and other ones.
Not to mention these crazy storms in the Gulf of Mexico, which have wiped out the ability for human life to exist normally in Louisiana. I keep wondering. I just got a call right before we went to air from a colleague around New Orleans, Louisiana, and sometimes here in Virginia we discuss, when are they just going to abandon Louisiana? It seems like it's not capable of sustaining life. They wiped out the Gulf of Mexico. They're destroying Baton Rouge right now with their false flag attacks, with their shooting number one, then their government stage Black Lives Matter riots number two, and then number three to finish them off, this massive weather warfare storm that's flooding out Baton Rouge and other parts of Louisiana and other parts of the.
It is part of Agenda 21, mate.
Thank you. You hit the nail on the head. Agenda 21 is very key. The United Nations is very key. we go over time and time again. I'm a broken record on this, but I don't care because it's the most important thing. When the director of the Department of Defense, tying this back to the $6.5 trillion missing, Leon Panetta, was testifying before a Senate committee hearing, he stated that the United States military, the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, does not take orders from the Congress, which is mandated by the law, which is this. This is the only law we have. Anything else is just statutory and is subservient, and this law is superior to anything else, any sort of statute, any sort of code, federal code, state code, etc. This is superior. And it says that of course, Panetta said, I should reiterate, that the United States Department of Defense takes its marching orders from NATO and the United Nations and does not take its order from the people through the Congress, through enumerated powers vested in the Congress, granted by the Constitution. So before we throw the baby out with the bathwater and say the Constitution is no good, which I hear a lot of controlled opposition say, why don't we just simply enforce the Constitution, which will result in the world's largest criminal trial, which will gather up every single leader in every city, state, and federal government across the United States, and we are ready to replace them. We're ready to replace them, and all we have to do is follow the example set forward by our forefathers. And most of the individuals that are running the so-called United States government, they can't say that this was set forward by their forefathers, because it wasn't. Because there's not many white Anglo-Saxons in the Pentagon infrastructure at the leadership position. There are no white Anglo-Saxon Protestants in the so-called Supreme Court, which needs to be all executed for their treason. And we just wish for America to be restored to the way it was. And Donald Trump's not going to do it. He's going to be executed for his treason and his role in these major Defense Department psychological operations, which are basically the election. Now, the election has This election has taken a turn which the Pentagon has directed it in. Now, with the election, which is something that happens one day every 4 years and has absolutely nothing to do with the running of the United States government, it just decides which puppet the
dog and pony show,
the shadow government wishes to put forward in front of the American people to be their head spokesperson for 4 years. It doesn't have anything to do with anything else. That this is the only thing that the American people are told is newsworthy, the horse race and the BS narrative behind the selection of the president, which is not even the most powerful institution in our constitutional republic, because that's most enumerated powers are given to the Congress because they're closest to the people. That's the way it was written. But again, nobody pays attention to anything else except for the presidential race, and then the presidential race doesn't even talk about anything important. They don't talk about the privately owned, foreign-controlled Federal Reserve Bank, which is nothing more than the American arm of the Bank for International Settlements. They don't talk about the weather warfare carried out by the government against the American people. They don't talk about the false flag terrorism. They don't talk about the fact that all the governments of the world, Russia, China, and the United States, the militaries are always working together. The United States is always exchanging top secret weapons and top secret military information with Russia and China. that Russian military are in the United States right now, that Chinese military warships were docked in the American naval base at Jacksonville, Florida, and that Chinese and American warships, excuse me, I should say United States Navy warships, are carrying out training missions close to the second largest collection of nuclear submarines on the East Coast, right off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. Nobody talks about this stuff. The only thing they talk about during the presidential elections is the race issue. Just like the Super Bowl was all about pushing forward the race war, these false flag shootings, these staged hoax shootings, all about pushing forward the race war. And also this fits in with the white genocide, where back in 1950, 29% of the world's population was of European descent. Now it is 8%. That's a genocide. That's a genocide. There is no other genocide that's happened in modern time like this. It hasn't happened like that. And that's
the American Indians, they decimated them pretty damn good.
Time.
So.
In modern time, there hasn't been a genocide like that. But
they're just continuing the same situation. They're continuing it because they started with the Native Americans, then they go to the blacks, then they're going to hit the white. They're hitting everybody. I mean, come on.
This is the plan. It's part of the Kalergi plan, which is a plan of, Russian Jews, and the plan is to kind of homogenize all races except for the so-called Jewish race or the Jewish ethnicity. All others are to be combined together in a plan to make people look like what these individuals think the ancient Egyptians look like, and then the Jews will remain their tight-knit, ethnically pure group, but not for anybody else, just for them. And of course, they are using all other ethnic groups. They're flooding Europe with their refugee, or as you call them rightly, rapefugees, which stems from these Jewish-led wars in the Middle East, which caused the refugee crisis, and now we're getting them in the United States, and now we're pushing forward nothing but racial agenda in the only thing that they talk about on the news, seemingly, which is the presidential race. And the only argument that seems to carry any weight is the two sides, the two Jew pawns, Clinton and Trump, calling each other racist. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. This has nothing to do with reality. It's just pushing forward this agenda. So, I mean, I just wanted to get that out because I can't stand this. Every time I turn on the television, that's all they talk about. You're a racist. No, you're a racist. You're a racist. And the facts are, more white people are shot and killed by the stormtrooper occupying army of the United States, the police, than are blacks. Blacks are 8 times more likely to carry out a violent attack or crime on white people than the opposite. So African Americans are 8 times more likely to kill or carry out a violent attack against European Americans, and the police are more likely to shoot and kill a European American than they are an African American. And I just want to point that out. Even in Wisconsin, even in Milwaukee, when a black cop shot a black teenager, again, a criminal. I don't believe in the police. I think the police should be abolished 100%. But we're talking about a criminal, and it was a black cop. They don't mention that at all.
No, they went after white people and said, let's kill white people because of it.
Exactly.
Any excuse to push their narrative to further the race wars, which
Let's talk about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I went through this shit in the 70s. You know, when I was growing up, the race riots in the 70s, 60s and the 70s. I grew up on the tail end of that shit. We got rid of it. Then all of a sudden, they turn around and the new generation comes out and they go, well, we didn't get our chance, so let's do it again. It didn't work the first fucking time. Here we are again. Where are we at? Same fucking place. They're pushing the Cloward and Piven. We're bringing in the immigrants, pulling all these weaponized people in. There are no illegal people, but there are illegal acts. Okay?
Amen.
And people don't fucking realize this. They go, well, we can bring these refugees in because, oh, my God, they're so poor. Yes, they are. We made them that way. That's part of the damn plan. And then we use them as a weapon to drive them into the United States, come in here, and then, oh, now we're racist. Yes, I am a fucking racist. I'm the biggest racist on the planet. I fully believe in the human race. I am not a tribalist like everybody is misnaming everything. They're calling tribalism racism. There's only one fucking race on the planet, and that's human. So, we have different tribes of human that are what they're pushing as tribalism, not fucking racism, but they mislabel it and go, oh, you're a racist. Yes, I am. I'm all for the human race.
Okay, so let's dive in there. A couple things real quick I want to touch on. The individual who invented the word racist, I believe was that Leon Trotsky?
I think it might have been. I don't remember right offhand.
I think it was definitely a Bolshevik terminology, and this was by design because they love to divide amongst, as you said, ethnic groups and tribes. That's while saying, hey, all pride among different tribes is bad, except for pride amongst the Jewish tribe. All restriction about breeding, amongst tribes is bad, except for the Cohen laws of the so-called Jews. And I want to touch on something real quick, which they're pushing forward, because the national religion of the United States, it's not Christianity. Unfortunately, it is NFL football. That's what I think, because that's pretty taking over Sunday.
No, the national religion is statism.
Okay. Honestly, you and I might disagree on that, because I can tell you, the average American can tell you a lot more about the NFL than they can tell you about statism or the government. And
maybe, but they'll fucking kill you for not worshiping the flag and not doing following the rules.
Mean, I'm a former Washington Redskins season ticket holder, and I can tell you that if you don't worship the flag at a NFL football game, somebody's going to say something to you, because they've said it to me, and they obviously quickly after they did that, they learned that they said it to the wrong person, because nobody has more clout for calling themselves a Washington Redskins fan than I, even though I don't call myself that anymore. But at that time, generation upon generation of Dorseys and my other ancestors being around the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore region and being fans of this football team and being a local. And this is what they push, exactly what you push. This is the only thing sports pushes is tribalism, because we have a natural inclination to tribalism, and sports pushes it. The rigged professional sports and college sports does nothing but push tribalism. And even if it's done in a kind of abstract way, that's what is to replace tribalism, which is a natural inclination in human beings. Nothing wrong with tribalism. I'm a tribalist. But the fact is that the NFL is almost like a religion. If it's like a religion, I think. It's taken over Sundays, and we looked at the last game of last year's season, the White Broncos versus the Black Panthers, with Beyonce performing during halftime in San Francisco's Levi Stadium, 50-year anniversary of the Black Panther Party, in the Bay region where they originated, pushing this race war agenda. White Broncos, Black Panthers. Now we have again Levi Stadium, San Francisco, California, Colin Kaepernick, saying he's not going to stand for the national anthem. He's not going to face the crowd, and I can tell you, it's just all a big psyop because.
I say good on him. In the land of the free, he should be able to do what the hell he wants. You know what I mean?
He's encouraged. He's getting paid millions of dollars to do this. But the idea that this guy is someone who should be listened to, and that's the reason why he's not standing for the national anthem. Dude, who's president of the United States?
Yeah.
Hey, there is a black African sitting on the Supreme Court. Who's the Attorney General of the United States? Who runs the Department of Homeland Security? Who's the Chief of Police in the city of Richmond?
Yeah.
Okay. Who runs this government? Hey, are there any white Anglo-Saxon Protestants in that position? Any white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, like you or I, on the Supreme Court? No. Is there a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant who has ever been the director of the Department of Homeland Security? Has there been a Jew? Has there been a papist? Has there been an African American? Yes! Who's the minority here? I mean, and actually, I'm asking that question seriously because we're hearing stories saying that in a much shorter period of time than previously thought, say in the next 10 years, that white people will be a minority. And certainly, the founding stock of the United States, the Germans, the Swiss, the Irish, the English, and the Scottish, of course, we shall be minorities. We already are.
Yeah, we're pretty much there now.
But go on. I just want to point
I was going to go to a break here in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to point. Go ahead. So,
go ahead and wrap up.
Yeah, just wrap it up. This race war psyop, don't buy into it because there is tribalism and there is definitely discrimination in this society, but the government is discriminating against its founding stock, and that's what's going on.
All right. We'll leave it there, and we will be right back.
All right.